My brother went missing years ago. I think I know what happened to him. When I say missing, I mean that his case was declared one of those creepy unsolved mysteries. It was on the news. I distinctly remember my parents interviewing for the news in our living room. I was very young when he went missing. I barely remember him, but I do remember that I loved him a lot. The days before he disappeared. I remember him staying home and babysitting me. I stayed in my room and played Nintendo 64. Throughout the day, a guy came over. I remember him. He was older. Almost our dad's age. My brother made me go into my room whenever I heard the doorbell. Later, after the guy left, my brother would ask me not to say anything about the guy. With my brain only being focused on video games. I agreed. I didn't care, nor did I comprehend the gravity of the situation. The next morning my parents were at work. My brother was acting very strange. I remember he kept checking the clock. In the afternoon, I remember him picking me up and asking me if I wanted to go in the wagon. I was too hooked on the Nintendo 64 and said no. Then he told me he had to run to our neighbor's house for something. I don't even remember what he said. He never came back. Decades later and the memories came flooding back. I'm not quite sure why. But it has been taking over my thoughts lately. I can't sleep because I keep thinking about it. I wonder, every day if he's out there. When the police asked me what happened that day, I told them that he went to the neighbors because that's all I honestly remembered. The uncertainty of his whereabouts broke my heart. It completely destroyed my parents. My mom became addicted to painkillers. And my dad has had 3 extramarital affairs. It has ruined our family. Maybe my brother knows what he did. Maybe he regrets it and knows he can't come back home. Or maybe something worse happened. During my freshman year of college, I was part of a sports team that got national recognition. I remember my team's picture was on ESPN with our university's name. A few days later, I got mail at my dorm. It was a gift basket. I thought it was from my parents, so I didn't read the card. I threw it away immediately and ate what was in it, but it was nothing but candy. I called my dad and thanked him for the gift basket. Surprisingly, he said he didn't send one, nor did mom. Then I got to thinking. All of those candies were what I used to eat as a kid. A glimmer of hope found its way into my heart. Maybe, just maybe, my brother is still out there somewhere. Months later, during Christmas, I got an unmarked Christmas card. The only thing written on it was a smiley face. Since then, I've heard nothing. No one I know sent that card. I have never responded. This proved to me that my brother was out there somewhere. I just had to find him. I got into contact with some detectives that our family has known since my brother went missing. When I started asking questions, they told me that my brother was no longer on any missing person registry. When I asked what that meant, they told me that he was removed per my parents' request. I asked my dad, and he ignored me. A wave of emotions took over me as my mom revealed that my brother is alive and okay. They found my brother years ago and found out he was living with another man. He's gay, and it disgusted my parents. He tried reaching out to them. They told him they didn't want anything to do with him and that I didn't remember him. I went ballistic. My parents weren't fazed by it. They sincerely hate my brother for who he is. For being gay. They kept him a secret from me all my goddamn life. My brother missed the birth of his nephew, he missed my wedding, graduations, everything. All because my parents lied to me. I've been able to get a phone number and contact information from police officers. My brother left it all open in case anyone from our family wanted to contact him. I still can't work up the nerve to call him. The address I have for him is across the country. But he's alive. My brother is alive. I dialed the number about 7 times before I actually pressed the call button. It started ringing and I hung up. Then I got frustrated with myself and called the number back. It rang and I got a voicemail. After about an hour of pacing and drinking 2 glasses of scotch at 1 p.m., I called the number again. It rang 3 times. I panicked. I hung up. But this time, the number was calling me back. I swear to whatever God is above, I thought my heart was going to stop. I almost threw up right there. I answered the call. The first thing I heard on the other end of the line was a guy laughing in the background. There was wind on the phone. The person on the other end was outside and it was windy. Who is this? It was his voice. I knew that voice. It was my goddamn brother. My brother. Who had been gone for my entire life. I covered my mouth with my shaking hands and just sat there. He kept asking me who it was. The guy in the background was trying to talk over him. He hung up on me. I called him back right away. He answered again. Me being a creepy weirdo, the first thing I said after decades of not seeing him and thinking he was dead, I blurted, "I got your number." He asked me who I was and what I wanted. I said, "It's me." There was a really long pause. I thought the call had dropped. Then I heard him tell someone to turn the radio down and roll the window up. The sound of wind stopped and then he asked me my name. I told him and he said that I was lying. I told him I got his number from the Missing Children's Network. I heard him gasp. He asked me what color shoelaces he wore to a picnic when we were kids, and I remember my mom getting mad at his orange laces with blue shoes. It was the last time we were together as a family. I could tell he was crying. The first thing he asked me was, "Where are you?" And I told him I lived a few hours away from home. Without hesitating, he told me, "I'm coming." He went straight to the airport without any luggage. Then he bought a plane ticket and flew straight to me. We stayed on the phone with each other the whole time. When he was walking through the gate, I knew who he was right away. He was middle-aged, with salt and pepper hair, and was muscular. He looked just like our dad, only better. I know if I told him that would make him mad. When we finally met up, We both sobbed uncontrollably. We went to a bar at the airport. He wouldn't let me out of his sight. He kept holding onto my arm and telling me how unreal it all was. He apologized to me. He kept crying, telling me he felt horrible. I told him to forget everything and tell me about his life. He's married. His husband is a doctor, and a pediatric oncologist. They live in the Pacific Northwest. They have 2 girls, 12 and 8. He works as a legal consultant and has his own firm. He has an amazing life. He told me that he thought I hated him and wanted nothing to do with him. We sat at the bar for hours. Literal hours. I think we sat for about 6 hours before I begged him to come home and meet my wife. We got home, and my wife was a mess. She hugged him and insisted he stay with us. At this point, his husband was going insane and kept calling him. He had no idea what was going on. He thought he had eloped or something. It was crazy for a couple of days until everything was explained and out in the open. My son and my brother were like 2 peas in a pod. Honestly, I never wanted children. My son was an amazing accident. However, I'm not good with kids. I'm always afraid I'm going to break them. But my brother is a pro. Kids love him. I do not plan on forgiving my parents, but my brother still loves them. He went by their house and knocked on the door. My father shut the door in his face. My mother hugged him and told him to take care of himself. Then she shut him out. I can't forgive them for that. I have no reason to stay close to them. I want to be with my family. I want to make up for all the lost time.